I
your
can't take you
words
seriously with these sunglasses, by the way. This is insane right now.
It's so sunny. I wouldn't be able to see you if I didn't have them on.
Look at, there's a bug on Lisa's shoulder. Oh, the other shoulder.
But there's something. Oh my god! You're actually holy shit.
If you're not getting educated about local and national real estate market conditions, the Fed announcements, what people are saying about mortgage rates, and what sellers are doing, there's a whole bunch of news we're going to cover here today. You're doing yourself and your client base a disservice. This is the Knowledge Brokers podcast. I'm Tom Toole with real Lisa Chinatti, not the AI version. We got Byron Lazine here as well. And obviously, guys, the Fed made a 25 basis point cut this week. We're going to unpack that first. And we also saw that Zillow reported on the 16th that sellers are slamming the brakes, was their headline, with new listings falling to a record low for the month of August. And we're going to unpack some AI discussion here, thanks to real or maybe AI Lisa or both, where she is doing some great innovations. And I think we want to talk about how you can implement that in your business and what you should be looking at if you're a knowledge broker. But first,
and we will get to that this week.
Yeah,
we didn't last week.
Yeah, that's a promise. We're committed here. We're not just interested. So we had the rate cut this week, widely expected 25 basis point cut. And, it was interesting. I was, watching the news before all this happened and seeing what some experts were saying. And the market was rallying. We saw interest rates hit, 6.13% earlier this week, according to Mortgage News Daily. And the rate cut was expected. I mean, this was what most people thought. I know Byron was hoping there'd be more. I think a lot of people were. I could include myself in that. And I think we can speak for.
I think that goes to, I think what was expected was a 50-point cut, not a 25.
No. 25 basis point cut was an 89% chance, according to the CME group. 50 was what we all had hoped for.
50 is what I wanted and what smart people wanted.
But the market had, if you look at mortgage rates, the mortgage rates had priced in a 50-point cut, which is why.
Didn't. No.
I mean, I think that's why we saw what shake out.
No, I'll tell you why it shook out.
Okay, go.
But yeah, let's go for it. Teeing you up. Here we go. I disagree with Lisa here too, by the way.
No, I mean, the markets for sure did not price in a 25 basis point. I mean, a 50 basis point cut. They had a 25 basis point cut. If you look at, Bank of America's projection and, on Monday, everybody was 25 basis point cut and the investment markets had that kind of baked in. Nobody expected a 50 basis point cut. What I think markets, expected was, or hoped for, and I have been saying this, I said it on last week's pod, I just hope Jerome Powell comes out with a plan. And when the news of the 25 basis point cut in real time, I don't expect anybody to be watching this in real time. I'm sitting there in Orlando at the, I had just gotten done doing a fireside chat with Sirhan, and I'm like, I got my AirPod in one ear. I'm kind of half listening to things going on around me with the other ear, and I'm watching this in real time. The news gets released on a 25 basis point cut. And the big news was in their SEP, the Summary of Economic Projections, which they do every single quarter. This was one of those meetings where we had an SEP. The consensus was that there's going to be 2 more cuts. The consensus from those on the FOMC members was there's going to be 2 more cuts in this year. So the October and December meeting, we'd see these 2 cuts. And so that's the headline that you see initially, basically at 2 p.m. Eastern time on Wednesday. 25 basis point cut. Now 2 more coming this year. Off of that headline, before the presser and before investors really dig into kind of, who and how many had this consensus projection that we'd have 2 more cuts, you saw the 10-year in real time drop down below 4 and was in the 3.9s. First time since October of last year where we actually broke 4% on the 10-year. And obviously 30-year fixed mortgages follow the 10-year, not the Fed funds rate. And so you see this sharp drop. Well, when do you see in real time the sharp spike back up on the 10-year? The minute Jerome Powell opened that hole on his face and started talking to the media, that's when you see the spike back up. When he starts puking all over himself, now I wouldn't call it a full projectile puke. It's more of like a spittle that he had. but he can't be clear. He can't be concise on what he says. And what he said was, I have no confidence in the projections made. I have no confidence in my own projections. And it became very obvious at that moment, when he was answering questions with the media, with the press, that, this isn't a plan of 2 more cuts this year. This is a projection that they have zero confidence in. They're uncertain. They don't want to make a misstep. They'd rather wait and see and have, data stack up and be so obvious before they make a move. And so the investor said, and the market said, yeah, they don't have a plan. We're going to back off of this thing. And you saw that kind of spike back up. And then you saw what we've been warning about. We've been role playing inside of BMX on Tuesdays with members, that these windows shut so quickly. All the momentum of the market knowing, hey, there's not only going to be a 25 basis point cut in September, but there should be multiple more coming. All that momentum that we've seen the last 3-4 weeks evaporated in a 24 to 48 hour period. It was cleared off. And we've seen this so many times in the last 3 years, where you get a quarter point, a 50, a half a point jump in the 30-year fixed mortgage rate in a 24, 48 hour period. And that's exactly what happened. We had a week where we had a year-to-date low, and we also saw all that momentum get wiped out. And when you're not having the conversations with your customers that this is a likely scenario based on 3+ years of evidence that the momentum gets wiped out, now they're like, man, is this ever going to happen? You have to take advantage of those windows. And for a real estate professional, taking advantage means bringing that information to as many people as you can on a one-on-one basis as possible. Nobody's going to watch your, your video on it that are in the moment. Now you got to reach out to them and get the information to them. And so, I'm not, I'm disappointed, obviously, that there wasn't a plan, but I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I'm not surprised either. If you watch the press conference, I mean, he said the word uncertain or uncertainty a lot of times. I don't like uncertainty as an investor. I don't think anyone likes uncertainty, and there wasn't a lot of confidence there. Before the meeting, I think you talked about the window where the 10-year dropped to for 15 minutes below 4%, and Marcus Lemonis was analyzing this on one of the business channels. I think it was Fox Business, and he said for things to get interesting and to loosen up, we need a 3 handle on the 10-year. And this was amid all the controversy with the Federal Reserve governor, being thrown out, and she was still at the meeting, and then there was the new one appointed, and all this stuff's going on. And we've been role playing this, like you said, Byron, and I think it's just clear that they're not going to say anything, they're not going to commit to anything, they're not going to take a stance, and I think that's what you want to hear. It's the people wanted a dovish tone at this press conference. They didn't get it. It was just a lot of like, we'll see. And he continued to talk about housing being weak. So it wasn't the press conference I think we all hoped for. We knew what they were going to do, but the comments afterwards were lacking for a lot of the people that wanted to see some more movement. And something you said there, I really want to highlight: 1-to-1 reach out. I think we need to highlight this, right? No one's watching your Instagram stories. No one's going to see that social media post that you put out that says, we've seen the lowest rates in 3 years, even though they're back up now. I think Mortgage News Daily has them at 6.37%. If your strategy is one email, one social media post, good luck. Like, that's not going to spur people. It's 1-to-1 reach out and following up with it, not just calling and talking about it. And Byron, you had a great question on the role play. It was 2 weeks ago. Hey, should I let you know if rates go lower? Because that's going to be the way to engage these people to see if they're going to transact. So the next time this happens, you can be on it, and you've got to be repetitive with the message. And this is outreach. This is sales. This is what real estate is. So don't fall into the trap of, I sent out my batch email, I posted something on social media, let the business roll in. And there is a chance rates go up, like we already saw this week. And I think people need to really communicate that. There's no guarantee they keep going lower. So tell me what's really important to you. That's where the scripting and the role play and the practice is so critical in times like this.
Yeah, the AB question is, so do you want to take action now in this window that we have, or would you just like me to keep you informed as they make these big 24, 48 hour jumps in the future? Either way, you're getting a yes and you're moving forward to the next step. There is a way we get to 5% rates. Bank of America, at least in their analysis, has a path for that. And it's pretty clear and obvious. It's not going to be anything that the Fed has a hand in doing. I think they made that pretty clear here.
Thank
But
goodness.
Lisa, before we get to the Bank of America's on ResiClub, their path to 5% rates, what do you think? I'm waiting for your response to why my analysis of why these rates moved up in a 24, 48 hour period. I'm sure you have some different take on that.
Yeah, I agree with you partly.
I can't take you seriously with these sunglasses, by the way. This is insane right now.
It's so sunny. I wouldn't be able to see you if I didn't have them on.
Look there's a bug on Lisa's shoulder. Oh, the other shoulder.
There's something. Oh my god! You're actually, holy shit!
Did you see that thing crawling around?
I couldn't see it. I have horrible eyesight, and the screen's too far away. I thought you were messing with her.
I did too, but
What was that?
It was a giant spider. Yeah.
Well,
holy cow!
This is what you get for connecting with nature. I see you on Instagram. Follow Lisa on her Instagram channel if you want to see weekend hikes with the Chinattis.
It's daily. You're in nature for the puppy, but not spiders. I do not do bugs. If it's got more than 4 legs, I am out.
Well, bugs do you apparently. So.
All
right, Lisa. So, what's your response here? Byron and I both disagreed with you on this. So, tell us your reaction.
I mean, I get what you're saying, but I also do think that what we saw shake out was a little bit. Look, the numbers might have said that the real expectation was a quarter, but I maybe hoping for the half is the better way to say it. And it was being priced in on a hope of a half. And it's tough, right? Like, I guess where I want to go back to, we can agree to disagree on that part of it. But I think where my big thing is with agents is being able to have communication with your clients about what this means. Because while we live in it every single day, I think the thing that we have to keep in mind, and I know we say this every time news like this comes out, is that most consumers think when the Fed drops the rate that the mortgage rates should be dropping. And when that doesn't happen, it creates more uncertainty and instability in different ways, with consumers just not understanding what's shaking out and that there's not that direct correlation.
It's so hard to explain to consumers and consumers to wrap their mind around, oh, wait, so the rates actually move off of words that people say and how investors feel about the future based on a variety of different things like projections and, analysis of data that we have right now, analysis of government data, which is very inefficient versus real-time data, which might tell a completely different story. I mean, if you just look at inflation, Realtor.com has 25 straight months of, lower rents month over month over month, 25 straight months, rents going lower. Yet, if you look at inflation data, CPI data, and where they get their shelter data, it tells a totally different story. Why? Because it's 2 years lagging. They're just now going to start catching up to what we've known for 25 straight months, thanks to the private sector like Realtor.com. And so for a consumer to there's a variety of different pieces of information that get grouped into, kind of what drives this 30-year rate, and it's being driven off of really investments into the 10-year. It's hard to understand and wrap your mind around when you don't follow it every single day. So this is why I encourage, when we do the role play on BMX, like screenshot. If you're really talking to somebody about rates, like go the last 3 years and just circle every 24, 48 hour period where you saw a half a point move on the 30-year fixed, where they move up and it's always based on some kind of job. Like in 2024, was a lot of times it was based on wow, look at how strong the jobs were, when really 3 months later they get revised down. But if you're in a strong job market, the expectation is rates aren't going to move down. And you'd see that 30-year fix bump up during that year, 25 point, quarter point or 50 points, 50 basis points on the 30-year fixed in 24 hours. So there's so many flash points we can point to where any momentum we have is completely erased. Bank of America has this article that ResiClub has this article on Bank of America. And really to summarize it, Bank of America is saying, the Federal Reserve aside with quantitative easing, really the only way you get a 5% mortgage rate is the economy has taken a real negative turn.
Mm-hmm.
Or, the Fed does adopt a new policy approach and resumes buying mortgage-backed securities. Those are the only two ways to get to 5%, according to Bank of America. Recession or a really significant job loss, negative turn in the economy, or mortgage-backed securities being bought by the Fed. Those are the only two ways. And
So which do you think is the more likely, Byron? I mean, what do you guys think is the more likely option here? If that is, I mean, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but if it, I know a lot of people want a 5 handle. What's the more likely of the two?
The Fed is playing fire, and they're inviting a negative downturn in the economy by not having a plan on rates now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if they were to move with a plan on rates throughout the rest of the year, I was for a 50 basis, 25, 50, which would be 1.25 throughout the rest of the year. There's like uncertain hope that we get to 2 more cuts, which would be 75 basis points between September's meeting and the next two. I think without a very clear plan from the Fed on getting rates to where they should be, then they're inviting the negative economic downturn before they start. They're not going to do resume buying mortgage-backed securities, which I would argue that they shouldn't. They should do it with the rates. But they're not going to get there until it's over. Like, we're clearly in a recession. And, the job market is funny. Jerome Powell did obviously acknowledge that the job market is funny. You've got kind of low demand, it would seem, for, hiring. They call it payrolls. You got obviously a couple months now of lower demand for hiring. You also kind of have low demand on looking for a job. You got low unemployment, historically speaking. 4.3% is pretty low. The fear is that if layoffs start to happen in a significant, meaningful way, which we're not seeing just yet, that this low hiring is going to mean there's a lot of people that are continuing to look for jobs. There are a lot of young people that say, college graduates that say, there's no jobs that are available for me with my qualifications. I would offer that to all the college and university graduates. You're not actually qualified to do anything.
Well,
so
yeah,
that piece of paper that you got does not give you qualifications to earn the job that you want. You're in a season of your life that you need to take a job that you can get. Okay. Sorry, somebody sold you a lie and told you that piece of paper entitled you to some job. It doesn't. You're at a season of life where you take a job and you work your way up the ladder. That's the reality. And Jerome Powell said it, and I'm shaking my head. It's like, young people coming out of college, they can't get a job. No, they can't get a job that they want. There's 7 million job openings. Okay. They can't get a job that pays off the debt where these universities took advantage of federal funding to inflate their product, which isn't worth 20% of what these kids are paying for it. And then they get out of school and they want to cry about there's no jobs that they want available, yet there's 7 million job openings in America. They don't want to take them. So the job market's weird because the way we've coddled children in America through guidance counselors. Yes, for everybody gets triggered when I blame it on the
You
guidance.
are going to get blown up on the comments again.
I don't care. Until we start to realize what's the problem with jobs, I'm going to continue to just mention it.
But I don't think it's just that. I think bed rotting. Have you both heard of this new bed rotting thing?
Well, I've heard the term. Explain it to us, Lisa. You've got the oldest children out of the 3 of us here. By the way, imagine being a a child of Byron Lazine right now and talking about your future with your dad. That would be
Oh,
interesting.
I love my little girls.
I know you do. I'm just kidding around. You're a great dad. I've
Look at
seen you
how
in
he lit
action.
up. I love
It's
his like
It's an
smile.
alter ego. We
But
had a fun pool day with him. But Lisa, I
and
want to hear
listen, I
about
spent a
bed
bunch of
rotting.
money on their education, which I think is pretty much a joke. But I'm still spending the money, and I'm going to give it to them straight when it's time for them. But go ahead, Lee. You got more experience as a parent than I do.
Well, no, I mean, my kids don't subscribe to the whole bed rotting thing, but
Yeah, but
you
you know
see it.
about it.
What
Yeah,
is it?
but it literally, this generation will spend an entire weekend in bed watching, like binging TV and doom scrolling on their phones. Like they will literally not get out of bed. It's insane to me. I do not get it, but I think it is all tied in. It's not just that they can't get the jobs that they want. There's a much bigger pull to lifestyle and to I think we all call it work-life harmony, but I think that they want to swing the work-life balance so that the weights of that scale do not align.
Well, I've seen that with hiring too. I mean, people talk about I value experience, right? I want to be able to go do whatever I want over the weekend, and I can't
Lifestyle.
believe
Yep.
I got to work 30 hours a week, and I got to do all. And I think that's where as employers, all three of us, it is frustrating because I know what it takes to do a job. I've done the jobs we hire for, pretty much every single one of them at our company at some point from starting the business
Yep.
here on some level. Not well, by the way. That's why we hired other people, but there's this I don't want to do it. I'm not I'm they don't want to there isn't the I don't know how to explain it, but people just don't seem to care. And then if they can find something else better, they'll just leave immediately. They won't even talk to their employer about it. And it's almost it's a goodbye email from their company email that gets deactivated and you never hear from these people again. So there is a challenge with hiring there, Byron. I mean, it's insane to me. I just don't. Just from someone that's
this
has a
whole
work
work
ethic. I
life
don't know.
balance. We work far less than our ancestors had to, but people think no, we're working more. No, we're working far less. If we just think about like, how do you think we got here? Do you think people were working 4 hours a day? They go hunting and they'd come back and like, and within the first 2 hours, they were able to get all the meals and they were all cooked. And then they just lounged around all day. Like to get to where we are today, everybody's been working basically all day long. That's just the nature of life. Somebody's got to produce this stuff if you want all this balance and harmony in your life. It just doesn't come out of thin air. And I golf with this guy. He's an HR guy, and they did this analysis across the company. It's a big company, hundreds of employees. And they did this analysis because a lot of the employees are remote and they have company computers and company equipment. And so the analysis across hundreds of employees showed that they were working on average 3.5 hours out of an 8-hour shift.
Mm-hmm.
What a joke.
And then they found a whole bunch of really odd things people were doing on their work computer. Like, as an example, on the extreme cases, porn on their work computer.
That's more common than you think. Like when you really dig into the research on it, you all provide your employees with company computers, right?
Yeah.
No. Well, in office, not actually no, that's a lie. I do. Yes. Haley, I'm watching your computer right now, Haley. What do you Haley's producing today. I don't I do have employee computers, but I'm not
but when you get them back before you wipe them, do you ever open up the computer before you wipe it to recycle it to the next employee?
Oh yeah. Some of the stuff that you see on these computers is bananas. Like it's wild. I mean, horrible things about me are on there. Resumes that they're working on for other jobs.
I don't really care.
We've only done this for a couple people because it was like you had to. Now that was earlier in the business. I think now I'm like whatever. I don't really care. Lisa, you talk about the study. There's also a study. I don't like my dad's our broker here, or he was our broker. He owns the company. I like rarely saw him as a kid. He was doing new construction. He's all over the place. Didn't have DocuSign. I saw him maybe Sunday mornings, like legitimately. And so with that, there's a study out there that today's parents are more involved in their lives than the previous generation. I can certainly attest to that being in a similar role where I see my kids way more than that's the case. So Byron, you're absolutely right. There's study and data that backs this up.
Yeah, I think this whole thought that we're working more than we ever did, I don't find I don't find much evidence in that argument. And what people define as a full workday is a lot different than what it used to be. I guess that's kind of where I would leave it at that.
Well, the one thing that I'll add just to kind of wrap up is always go back to I think some folks work a lot, right? I'd put the three of us kind of in that realm.
Probably a lot of people listening to this pod work a lot.
100%. And one of the things that I've always kind of lived by is go back to one of my very first business coaches. And he used to say to me when I was kind of struggling with it, because my kids were young. My kids were like your kids' ages when I was still in the real like brunt of the business. And he would say to me, Chinatti, you're going to work harder than most people will for the next 5 to 10 years so that you can live a life that others only dream of for the rest of your years. And that was the thing that has gotten me through it. And it's actually factual, right? Like there were sacrifices that had to be made in a short window of time, right? Like Tom, like your dad, only being home on Sunday mornings, right? But like I had the conversation with my kids when they were young, but old enough to understand that like, the sacrifices of not having mom at every sporting event, at every swim meet, at, all of these things meant that my kids could travel to places that they wouldn't have been able to travel, that they've gone to school without debt, right? They'll have down payments for their first homes. So go ahead.
It's a similar sacrifice at acknowledging whatever season you're in. If you're a recent college graduate, you're going to have to sacrifice the job that you want by accepting the job that you don't want to earn the job that you want. If you're a brand new real estate agent, you're going to have to sacrifice weekends because that is your moment. That's the time that interest in your product accelerate. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Those with an ISA department know that the high inbound conversations and interest in real estate happens later half of the week and into the weekend.
And in the evenings.
And in the evenings.
During the work hours.
Yep. And so if you're a new agent, Monday morning at 9 a.m. is going to be a pretty dead time for, your real estate business. You're not going to convert at a ridiculously high level Monday at 9 a.m. like you will Friday at 5 p.m. when people are finalizing their weekend plans. Like appointments are set real easy Friday at 5 p.m. in comparison to Monday at 9 a.m. Yet everybody is ready to go at 9 a.m. Guess what? Your customers are ready to begin their week. They're getting their coffee. They're sitting down at their desk. They're checking their email. They're getting caught up. Like Monday at 9 a.m. might be the single worst time to try to get your customer on the phone. Friday at 5, it's a lot easier to convert. But yet, what do new agents want to do Friday at 5?
They want to go to happy hour and get blackout drunk, Byron. That's what they want to do.
Yeah, and that's not making the sacrifice so that in 5-10 years, Friday at 5, you can do, I guess, whatever you want to do. Friday at 5.
You can black out on Fridays at 5.
You can. I wouldn't suggest blacking out in any.
That's what Byron's telling everybody.
In any case, I wouldn't suggest blacking out Friday at 5. I mean, today's Friday, 5 o'clock. I will be finishing our final BAM event meeting for BAM Camp next week, which you guys are both going to be there, and I'll probably be lighting up a cigar. Blacking out will not hopefully be part of the equation, but
we're all kidding about the blacking out.
Yeah,
Eric Simon might disagree with us on that, but that's it.
Friday at 5. 15 years ago, 10 years ago, I was not, coming off of an event meeting and lighting up a premium rolled cigar. I can tell you that. But I will be doing that today.
But you put in work. See, this is the thing people don't get, right? Lisa, how long have you been doing this? Byron, how long have you been doing this?
2012.
2012. That's 13 years ago.
2015.
I've been doing this 25 years. Okay, like. Yeah, you earn this.
It's because you're 90, Tom.
I'm not 90. I'm actually young. I'm the middle-aged person. The middle age of the two. I'm also middle-aged.
You just called me the old one.
Oh, you're older. Byron's
I think you should just stop talking.
I don't. I would never disrespect AI Lisa like that.
I don't. There's no disrespect to these are facts. And
AI Lisa was just born last week. She just invented AI Lisa last week. She's only 7 days old.
AI Lisa existed last year.
But
Although we know it's not AI Lisa because AI Lisa would never be afraid of a mere spider the way you
That
would.
was a big spider, guys.
The point is, we've been doing this a long time. We've built our businesses here, and you get people. I remember we were in, you remember the Band Mania? We had that mastermind, and there was an agent there. I forget her name. She's probably not going to be happy about this, but she sold 8 homes in her first year. And we're sitting there talking. She's like, I got to build my brand. I got to branch out. I'm going to do, I need to leave my brokerage. And I said, you know what you need to do? Try to sell 16 homes this year. Like, what are we fucking talking about with some of these people where it's like 8 homes, great. Like, double it, add 10, 20% instead of trying to get to the retirement finish line or the kick back and have a team finish line that a lot of people think is like the easy life, which we all know it's not, by the way. We all have teams. I think a lot of folks, they just want to fast forward this instead of just doing the work and building a career like people have done for hundreds of years. It's pretty simple. I think, Brian, you hit the nail on the head here with this.
Lisa, do you? I find the whole phrasing around burnout to be dramatized. It's like a little dramatic, and it's just overstated. I find it more lack of plan is where burnout comes from. Like if you don't know how you're moving forward over the next 90 days, chunk it down to 30, chunk it down to a week, chunk it down to a day, it's pretty easy to feel burnt out because you're not in movement, you're not in action moving forward. You tend to see things a little bit differently. So what's your feeling on this, on burnout? Because I think a lot of agents right now get into that. Well, I'm burnt out, and it's been hard the last 3 years.
So I think that the phrase is a little bit overused, but I'll be the first one to tell you guys there have been times, particularly for me over the past like 18 months, where I've definitely felt burnt out. And I think part of it is when I spend too much time, everyone's going to relate to this. When you spend too much time operating in a part of your business that you don't love, right? I can grind through a hard phase, a hard season, whatever, for a period of time, but I get burnt out after. And you might be right, it's 90 days. I can do something that I don't love super consistently at a super high level for 90 days, but then I'm done and I need a break and I need a change. And I think part of it is that often, so maybe I agree with you kind of, is that when people feel burnt out, it's because they don't see what's next and can't get there. God bless.
Yeah, no rate of progression.
Yeah, and
lack of plan to move forward.
Yeah,
or they're not tracking their results and seeing the progress. I think that can be a real thing too. They have they're not looking at what they're actually getting done. I mean, that would stop anybody, right?
Scorecarding the business. Like if you don't have a scorecard, it's easy to get lost and then feel burnt out because you don't even know which direction you're going.
Yeah, and I think when you can't books, Compound Effect, The Slight Edge, a couple of those, right, that talk about being able to see the small little changes. And I think when you're expecting to go from, to Tom's example, to go from 8 to 80, right, in terms of sales or income or
8 to 16 was the example, but
no, that was the advice. The example was I need to leave my brokerage and do everything else. So
yeah.
Right. But so like if you expect to go from, your first year in the business selling 8 homes to the very next year you've opened a brokerage and you're running a team that's selling 800 homes, it's not possible, and you're missing all the small gains that go along the way. And I think that that's where that level can, so I think burnout is real. I know I feel it from time to time. But I think people don't recognize it coming and recognize the ways to reset enough. Like I know I can sense it coming now. I've done this long enough to know when I sense it coming, and I've got some great supports in place, you two being some of them, for when I hit that space.
All right.
I don't know.
That's a real answer. And I felt it from time to time too, but getting burned. And I think you mentioned 90 days, right? Business runs in 90-day cycles. I think that's really great advice for people. Like you've got to give something 90 days to even see a result. You can't do something for a week and expect all of a sudden you're going to see results come out of it. So that's especially as we come into business planning season here. That's really good, Lisa.
I agree with everything said. I think I think it's overused, and a lot of the cases of burnout could be solved by just having a simple, clear plan on how to move forward every single day. When you're in action, it becomes, I don't think people have enough, the old Gary Vee stuff. I don't think people have enough self-awareness of where they're actually truly at. And they're
I
not
think
willing to
that's
acknowledge where they're at.
part of it. I also think sometimes we get so caught up in being busy without being productive, right?
Right.
And I think
Lying to themselves about what
yeah,
they're actually getting done.
yeah,
All right.
that's the best way to say it.
And we got to keep this moving here. So let's
We
talk
got
about
two
these.
more. We have to get the AI before we get blasted that we skipped Lisa's AI breakthrough that she had, but we have that Zillow report first.
So real quickly here, and I'm going to give you my observation here. I think there's something we all need to be mindful of. So the Zillow report the data in here was that we saw a new record low for August in the number of listings that the new listings fell. So the total for sale inventory fell month over month. Lowest level since August, even though it's up 15% year over year. And Kara NG, Zillow's senior economist, her quote for the data was, buyers who can afford a home and have been waiting for the right moment should look closely at what's available now. Options are on the shelves, even if they're not all fresh. Sideline buyers should revisit their budget. Mortgage rates are lower than recent years, and in some markets, sellers are more willing to deal, but don't expect this window of opportunity to stay open indefinitely. Buyers' leverage is easing as many sellers put their plans on hold. So, to me, I look at the month of August, and maybe I'm a little jaded, being where the three of us operate our businesses in the Northeast. Of course, you're going to see a drop in the number of listings in August because everyone's on vacation. It's back to school. There's typically a reset in the month of August. I'm not surprised by the data. And what Kara NG said, I think that's what people need to be saying to their clients right now. There's a window of opportunity. You already missed the 6.13, Byron, because you might have been out there. There was that window that jumped up a little bit back to 6.37. I'm not surprised by this. And this is the seasonal decline that we see every year. Logan Mohtashami charts this all the time, that once you get to August, listings decline and they start picking back up after the first of the year. So I'm not totally surprised here. I don't think this should be a shock to a lot of people.
Yeah, I think the super interesting thing is, and I think for us in August, we actually do typically see strong listings. It's like our last strong listing month of the season. Where I am, we're very tied to our schools. And so August is the last push to list and get sold before the new school year starts. So seeing a little bit of a change in that is not necessarily like, it is a little bit alarming. In this article, I don't know if you guys are going to link it later, but what's super interesting to look at is the chart that Zillow put down in the bottom. And it's really kind of interesting to look that where they have spelled out whether the Zillow, what do they call it? The Zillow heat index favors it being a buyer market, a seller market, or a neutral market. I think we had been talking about having all of these buyer markets kind of popping up, or that the country was swinging towards a buyer market. The data doesn't show that. And I think with the data decreasing, the rates stabilizing, I don't want to say decreasing, but rates stabilizing, I don't know that we ever really hit a buyer market.
We did in some markets.
Yeah, Florida, Texas.
And we are in some, and the high transaction markets are closer to are in a buyer market or closer to a buyer market. So,
but you not remember, nationally. Like I think if you were to
nationally, we're much closer to
together.
We're much closer to a neutral market,
correct,
nationally than we are a seller market. And obviously, there are pockets where, certainly the Northeast and pockets of the Midwest and those kind of markets where we're still in a seller's market. If you look at the Sun Belt states, which is you take the four regions as NAR divides them. Well, their South region includes both Florida and Texas. So when you have two enormous states, two of the three largest states in one region, well, obviously that region is going to have the most transactions month over month of any other region. It's almost like 50% of the transactions in what they consider the South region, which is those Sun Belt states, and then Florida and Texas are included. And there is a lot of buyer markets or leaning towards buyer markets in those states, which impacts the overall data. I think Lance Lambert, who's come on the pod, and when he talks about this bifurcated market is really right, as things are, evolving and kind of changing over here throughout the country, you do have some extremes. You know, the Northeast is extremely different than Southwest Florida, two areas that I know very well. You know, I think one thing that's clear with not as many sellers coming to the market is that sellers are not in desperation mode. Generally speaking, there was a report last week I covered on the hot sheet from Realtor.com that shows there's actually an increase year over year. It's now over 40% in the amount of homeowners who do not have a mortgage at all.
Yep.
So, you know, less than 60% of homeowners have a mortgage. There's obviously a small
That's crazy. Think about that. Think about what you just said. That's
right.
crazy.
So these homeowners, people who own the homes, the real estate in America, are not in desperation mode. You want to go super tinfoil hat theory that, hey, maybe the Fed is inviting this job loss, this downturn in the economy, because the only way you're going to get home prices to go down is a lot of that 60%, or, you know, a sharp increase, I should say, in the 60% of homeowners who are mortgaged lose their jobs. That's literally the only way I see dramatic downturns on home prices. The less than 60% of homeowners who are mortgaged, we have a sharp increase in those particular homeowners losing jobs, where they are forced and can't find another job, forced to flood the market at rapid speeds. And obviously, if people are losing jobs, who's buying those homes? You'd get the 30-year fixed lowered rate like Bank of America says. But yeah, sellers are just not motivated to move the price down. Why would they be willing to do that? They'll keep the home. And so you're still remaining in the situation we've been in for 3 years, where it's like, yeah, I'll just keep the home. I'm not really interested. I'll see where we're at next year, see if there's an increase in demand, increase in buyers, and increase in inventory if I need to go buy something else in order to sell, which is a lot of times likely the case. So this is, until you get to that 5 handle, which Bank of America argues you only get one of two ways, this is the story that'll continue.
Crazy.
Yeah, well said. All right, let's talk about this AI stuff. We got some good amount of time here. So Lisa, explain to everyone. Lisa built this incredible piece of software on her own. I think no help from your husband Steve, the software engineer, which is even more impressive. Not this time. Just tell us about it, and then we can kind of get into the discussion here. I think that's a great place to start.
Yeah, well, so I'm going to tell you guys there was a problem. Byron and I were having an interesting conversation a couple of early last week, was it? We were having a conversation.
Yeah.
So Byron and I were chatting. Tom, I don't know where you were during it, but we were chatting about the lack of visibility to Realtor.com leads in our database. And then also looking at one of the things about Flex that's super cool is that they give us predicted conversion. And it's a great way to set benchmarks for the team, helps us understand whether we're winning, whether we're losing, and see where opportunities are. Love Realtor.com as a company. Their reporting hasn't kept up with where we all really kind of need it to be to run these kind of things. But kudos to Realtor.com. When I was in Austin a couple of weeks ago, they mentioned this really cool piece of AI software called Replit.com. So after Byron and I chatted, I visited Replit and said, hey, here's my problem. I can't see my Realtor.com and, truth be told, my Google PPC apps within my Follow Up Boss database. And help me build dashboards and reporting that have some predictive analytics and real-time stats. It took me, goodness, maybe 10 hours of going back and forth, but without having to know a single thing with coding, and was able to build out this really, really slick dashboard for our Realtor.com leads. And so it's just
a dashboard for basically a report card.
It's a report card. And we were able to link in our Zillow, our Realtor.com, and our Google pay-per-click to see. You can sort it by month. You can sort it by lead type. You can sort it by all sorts of different things and pull up the funnel in real time. You can click a button and it will show you exactly which leads are in there. It identifies those where our sales managers should be putting their emphasis on likely to convert. And it also is able to look at historic conversions based on lead source or the database as a whole and predict out where we should be with transactions for the next 30 days, which is crazy fun. And the first time we've ever really been able to get that kind of a handle on our database. It's just, I don't, I am so stoked about AI these days, guys. Like, there's so much power in it.
I mean, I love what you're going to talk about at BAM Camp next week with AI. But, you know, Sirhan had me at his event, and he had me do a fireside with him this week. And one of the things that him and I really aligned on, he asked me about, you know, the biggest blind spot in agents' business. And I said, I think the biggest blind spot is their lack of having a scorecard, a great report card on how they're getting their business, which creates a second blind spot of being emotional about A, how they're getting their business,
Yep.
and B, emotional about how they want to get business. Where if you have great report cards, like Lisa's now built this AI model out, which truth be told, I would have that as a 90-day rock. Lisa did it in 10 hours now with AI. So the efficiency that AI is bringing, you can move a lot faster. And she's built out this model of reporting on these metrics so that you can see that. But we're less emotional as business operators when the data just clearly points in the right direction of where we should be leaning into. Oh, I should do more of this type of lead conversion or generating this type of leads because it brings me this type of margin, or I can generate these leads easier than those leads. You hear a lot of agents just make an emotional statement. I only do this type of business. And if you really dig a layer deeper, they don't know how they got that business. They really are not great at articulating the true source of that business. And it's pretty, with about 3 or 4 questions, it's pretty easy to pick apart. And some agents get very emotional about that conversation, which is really a red flag to me that they're not operating a business, and they should probably acknowledge, going back to self-awareness, acknowledging that they are just an agent with a license. They are not a business operator, and they need to quickly get with somebody who is a business operator and follow those steps because they are kidding themselves and kidding their family about the reality of where they are in their business. And report cards can alleviate all of that emotional distress and decision-making around business.
Well, and I think that everything, Byron, you talk about the agents like, hey, I work by referral only, like it's a badge of honor. Then when you look at it, like it's not really a referral. It's they direct mailed somewhere. They live in the neighborhood. They did like some nonsense. And I watched a little bit of what you, some of the stuff you posted at the Sirhan, whatever was Sell It or whatever the heck the event was called. And you don't want to get emotional about your business, right? When you make emotional decisions, they're not based on logic and data. I think it's a really great point. And what Lisa's doing, I mean, Lisa, you've always, we've been masterminding together for a long time. You've always been the most analytical of the three of us. I think that's very clear. When you can build this kind of stuff in your business, it makes the decisions easy, and then the company can move forward in a way that everyone feels good about instead of arguing, I think this, I think that. Well, the data never lies, my friends. So this is where, AI can really, it's one of the many ways where AI can really help you. I mean, we've talked about content creation, and I know we're using there was a podcast that Brian, our sales manager, sent me about building AI agents to do this very thing for our company. And then Lisa builds this like a day later. Like the timing couldn't have been better. So it's a rock that we have for Q3 or Q4.
You know what I think is super important? I think one of the things that I'm kind of taking away from all of this is that agents, business owners, I don't even care what industry you're in. I think one of the things that we always need to be asking is like, if I knew X, I could make my business better, right? And being able to just ask those questions and then start to understand, like, there is probably some sort of AI platform or way to achieve getting that result. So like the next layer, you guys are going to love this. The next layer that we're building into that app is tying it into our QuickBooks. so that we can start to see and tie in the profitability. So like what you said, Byron, with what is each lead source actually really turning into profit? And then we'll be able to start to get super granular on our cost of sales, right? Like for what's it actually costing us to get there, and make some really good decisions. Like I found
And
Google, well, I thought we were doing really well. We had a really big slip in Google over the past 3 months. We were generating the leads, but not converting nearly what we needed to be profitable.
not only will you make good decisions, you'll make those good decisions faster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that just, speeds everything up to getting into the right place for your business.
So I
And I
got a
think,
question for you, Lisa. When are we
oh
getting
yeah.
access to the app? I thought we were going to get to beta test this here. I'm still waiting. What's
Yeah,
going on?
well, so you know what happened? So I went back into my Replit and I said, I'd like to make this dashboard convertible. I got to do a little bit more work because now I've got to make it so that we can tie in your API keys without messing up my API keys. So I'm working on it, but I didn't drop everything
Can
to
we
do
get a
that.
deadline here? Can we get a commitment from you?
Yeah, I'll commit to you that by the end of October, I will have it
I'm
ready
in.
to launch for you.
You heard it here
Um,
first.
Yeah, and the one thing that I do want to add that I talk to with my agents in particular about, and I say it a lot, like if I ever get the opportunity to speak about money, is I think data, like money, everybody's got a relationship with it, right? And it's not always a real positive feeling. And I think being able to be okay with that and give yourself permission to say, hey, there might be some hard truths in the data that I'm about to see, but I can't make it better if I don't know that it exists. And so that's one thing that I really want people to kind of take away, because I think it was like my hard truth about Google, right?
Yeah.
But
If you're not willing to, this conversation, data analytics, using a report card to drive decisions in the business, how do I analyze these, pieces of information faster to get to a place to make quicker decisions? If this part of the conversation is like, boy, I hate all that stuff and I don't want to build somebody or something around me to handle for that, then you have to say, I am a real estate agent, not a business owner. Okay.
right.
While every agent is 1099 and they are an independent contractor, there is a significant difference between agents and agents who are business owners and operators. And the self-awareness between which of the two you are, both can make millions. Both can be super successful.
Mhm.
Both can have extreme happiness. But I think every agent is, or some agents are not convinced on which side they're actually on, and they're playing pretend on one side or the other.
Well, but I think it's because we don't make it okay enough to be just an agent, right?
Oh,
And
I
I
think
put
it's very okay. That's the whole
There's a
point.
lot of very
not
successful single agents. I mean,
not
that's
us
out there.
as in the three of
You,
us. I just think like you think back to like,
I know
and
lots
Rick,
of agents that are just an agent and are making millions of dollars a year.
no doubt, but think back to every real estate event that you've ever gone to over the past 4 years, 5 years. All of the talk has been about building a team, running a team, being a mega team, right? And it's team, 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 team. And I think that that's kind of, it's become too much. We skewed too far in that direction. And I don't think it was okay to be
I,
an agent, to be a
yeah,
kick-ass killer agent making $1 million, $1.5 million, $2 million a year. And everybody just thought that like, look, I'll say it, that you could go from selling 8 houses a year to running a team next year, instead of getting to
yeah.
the point where, Tom, how many homes did you sell a year before you started your team?
90.
Byron, how about you?
That I probably wasn't hitting 90, but it was over 50.
I was at 82, right? Like, and I just think that we've lost that. It's crazy to me that like we see people running teams that never got to the point where they were truly maxed out on their own personal production.
Yeah.
It's a disservice to the
100%.
industry when that happens, because then they
Mhm.
other people join these folks. They got no
Yep.
plan for them. They're like, oh, this is what I did for my one great year of production where I hit
Mhm.
20 sales, which is a good number, but I mean that's you shouldn't be. One of the things, this is actually advice I got from my mentor, John Collins, and also my dad, is that you've got to go till you can't handle any more business. And that's when you want to start building, because I think,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and it was
Well,
like 90 deals a year, 8250, all those numbers. There's a point where you've reached capacity there, and everyone's got different bandwidth depending on what you're doing and everything else. And it's, and I had a lot of staff supporting me to do 90 sales, by the way, because that's I don't think one person can get into triple digits. I mean,
absolutely.
I mean, that's the cap. I couldn't get past it, and it was a couple years, and then we added somebody on. I mean, I did 80 sales with
When
myself and Wendy, our ops manager, and we were like, "What the hell just happened here?"
when you cross 50,
50's
you
a
gotta
lot.
start getting help. You need either somebody handling some of the buyer leads, or personal assistant, or whatever. But I agree with what you said, Lisa, and I think if you're like, oh, man, I just want to make millions as an agent, you find the right team, the right office, the right operator that
Yes.
has the infrastructure where you can plug in and just focus on being an agent. And I agree with you. There's been a lot of, events that haven't spoken to that. I will say, people have asked me how Sirhan's event was. I mean, not exactly this conversation, but I thought that Sirhan and his team did a great job of what we're talking about, right now. And we'll certainly have at BAM Camp next week in Scottsdale a totally different angle than, for those of you that are coming, I think, than most events offer today. And yeah, to me, there's a bigger conversation that needs to be had around that. So I'm looking forward to seeing you guys both in the desert next
Yeah,
week.
are we going to film a pod on Friday too?
I was going to ask you about this.
So here's what Bobby and I were talking about, and let us know if in the comments that this is something you think we should do. So myself, Lisa, Tom all have individual presentations for BAM Camp in Arizona this week or next week. So me and Bobby were talking about, instead of releasing a pod, he's going to release 3 pods basically next week. So starting on Friday, then maybe the next one Sunday, and then maybe the next one Tuesday, whatever, he'll space them out a day or two. But he'll release all 3 of our individual presentations from BAM Camp. And instead of doing one pod, you'll get 3 presentations from BAM Camp, one from each of us right here on the Knowledge Brokers channel. So if that's of interest, well, what do you guys think about that? And we'll
I
get
gotta
comments.
level up my presentation now.
I think it's a
Well,
great
I'm hoping
idea.
you're leveling it up anyways, Lisa.
I'm already aiming for great here. So Lisa apparently was going to mail it in, but
No,
no, I think that's a great idea, Byron. Well, the event's sold out, right? So you can't even get in to come see these.
The event's been sold out for 30
And
days. So this will be a way to obviously give back to the Knowledge Broker audience of getting a little taste of that.
I know what
BAMX
Tom's
members,
topic is. What's yours, Byron?
the exact language to get paid what you're worth on listings. So
like
something
that.
I just talked about it at Jared James' event. And I'm going to walk everybody at BAM Camp through. They'll be able to take exactly what I'm offering there and put it into their business the next day, and having a real framework on getting more comp. There's a disclaimer. I'm not pushing any comp numbers, and I had to make that disclaimer on Jared James' event. These numbers are not real. They're made up. It was great at Jared's when I spoke at his event, because I'm like, hey, we're in Disney. Everything I'm telling you is fake. This is a fake conversation. You are in fake fairyland right now. So
lucky Bob Iger didn't fire you immediately.
yeah.
That could have
Oh
happened.
boy.
He's got a track record of doing that.
Yeah. That's a whole interesting can of worms there.
We're not going to talk about that. So, Lisa, you're talking about generating business through AI search and different
Through ChatGPT in particular, yeah.
To get searched on GPT, which is like so important. I mean, it's critical. Like old school Google. You want to be in the forefront of that. Tom, what do you have?
I'm talking about how every day is an interview. Just by showing up the right way, you can actually generate a lot of business that you might not realize. I set 11 listing appointments over a 10-day stretch a couple of weeks ago, and over half of them were from it was like a past client's daughter who I sold their home in 2012. a neighbor who saw what we were doing. And I think agents need to realize that you never know who's watching, and you really got to pay attention how you're showing up in the community.
So leave us a comment if you, instead of a pod, you want those 3 presentations uploaded to Knowledge Brokers channel. BAMX members are going to get everything that happens at BAM Camp inside of school. So, yeah, if you want that here as part of the pod, we'll do that. If there's like crazy breaking news, I guess we would try to find a way to do a pod. But outside of that happening, I think that's the direction we'll go. We'll release those 3 presentations, and super thankful you guys are coming out. Thankful for anybody who's going to be joining us in Scottsdale. Tickets have been sold out for 30 days. So there's a real thirst for all the topics we're going to be talking about, and can't wait to just have some fun with everybody in the desert.
Yeah, it's going to be my fun side comes out in the desert.
Oh yeah.
5 years.
Fun
It's like a lunar eclipse when that happens.
I know. It's been a hot minute. We're going to have some fun.
Can't wait to see you guys. Have a good weekend. See you next week.
Go Birds.
You've got a CRM for leads. Great. Don't want that to go away. But what about your clients? Most agents drop the ball after the deal. That's why they're called past clients. There's real money is in the referrals, the repeat business, staying top of mind for a year, making past clients actual clients. If your follow-up is just random check-in or a happy home anniversary, you're invisible. That's why my team uses Mosaic, and that's why the Mosaic team just made it available to all BAMX members at no additional monthly cost. Mosaic is a high-touch client experience platform. It picks up where your CRM leaves off, personalized property search, offer comparisons, real-time transaction timelines, automated homeowner reminders, equity updates long after the closing. This means your clients feel supported with you without duct taping 5 different systems together. And here's what makes this deal insane. Mosaic is normally $150 to $250 a month, but BAMX members, you get full access included in your $97 a month membership. If you're doing the math, that's like us paying you $150 every month just to stay ahead of your clients, just to keep your clients. Spots are limited by market for Mosaic. Some are already full. So if you're in a competitive area, go claim your seat now. Go to school.com/BAMX or hit the link.